Good afternoon, everybody. When I was invited by Tim to speak here, he said to do 3 things to talk on. Number 1, tell them about yourself, which I'm going to do in a second or 2. Tell them about your background of your business, and more importantly, focus on the programme. For those of you who know me, I'll try not to speak like a machine gun in front of you. So the first thing is just in terms of a bit of background for myself. Less of probably a John Paul Sartre introspection. My own personal background, which is one of the reasons I was really excited to be invited to participate in this project 2 years ago, is through a business, personal involvement. I've been involved in the creative cultural sector for about 30 plus years in a number of different guises. So to be given the opportunity to actually work further with artists here in terms of the business side of things was, a great opportunity and a sort of a personal satisfaction. Luckily, I've got a good team of staff. I run a sort of a number of companies, so I've got a good team of staff, so I can go off and indulge myself and do lots of different things here, which is quite good here. And for me, without wishing to go too much into an eclectic why the arts are important here, the key thing about all this process, you're not just looking at wonderful talent, you're looking at talent that's actually going to generate their own income, become sustainable businesses, and as time goes on, they will be, as I fully much expect them to, be taking on extra resources. We've got Rachel and Emily here that's been applauding the audience. They hit the headlines. The only downside of that, it was in the Sunday Express, so I had to buy the paper, but they were very well popularised, and that's a very good success story, and you will see many more of those as time goes on. If I could just give you a bit of background about the business itself. In my sort of former careers, I used to be a teacher, believe it or not, many, many years ago, in a distant life. Decided that wasn't going to be good enough because the thing with teaching is if you do it too long, people think you can't do anything else. So I jumped ship, thought what to do next, went into industry for about 5.5 years, picked up a few bits of paper along the way, then after a while thought, do I want to become an accountant for the rest of my life? No disrespect to any accountants in the audience, but I thought for myself, perhaps not. So I jumped ship in February '95 and started my own sort of firm, doing a number of things. We're predominantly accountants and trainers as such. Now, the reasons for my sort of focus on this talk, last year when we did the first cohort, what my experiences with people starting businesses are, the ideas are fantastic. Ideas, to my mind, without being disrespectful, are 10 a penny. You need to try and convert them into sustainable businesses. The process that all creatives and businesses go through is perfect to lend themselves to a particular qualification that we're accredited to offer, which is an entrepreneurship-based qualification, which is what I want to move on to now. I'm hoping, by the way, because I can't see what's on the screen, that it's right behind me, so thank you for that coordination there. Now, the actual qualification, and this key thing, for me, your career is going to go through many cycles, many ups and downs here, and for me, it's a key thing to be transferable, the skills to go on. Now, unfortunately, a very sad statistic is 70% of businesses that do not make it, whether it's in the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, fail because they lack management skills. And some of those management skills are the inability to plan, the inability to actually do things like finances, and the inability to do marketing. There are other things as well, but the art form and the product aren't really the reasons for failure. Now, the qualification itself, we think is very good. It's a practical-based qualification, and it really addresses 4 questions that the cohort have to go through. And these are questions that I would expect any person to think about if they're running their own business. So without giving the regurgitation of the whole syllabus, one question would be, is this actually right for me? Now, I've met many businesses over the years, and one critical thing is your mindset has got to be such that it copes with all the roller coaster of running your own business. So we ask the cohort, is it suitable for me? What sort of risk am I taking? What's the impact of my time? Because in my experience, it's not suitable for everyone. Other aspects is, the idea that I've got, is it actually going to work? Do I know who my customers are going to be? Do I know how I'm going to talk to them? What's the idea beyond the drawing paper? We then obviously come into numbers. Everything you do as an activity, it involves some financial impact. Somebody's got to keep a record trail of that, and it's not just to keep the taxman happy, by the way, but it's so you can judge how your business is performing. And the last thing, the synthesis of all this thinking that the YEA group are having to do anyway, they formulate a business plan. Now, before I go on to the last bits, from my own personal view, a business plan is not just a document for the sake of it. It just demonstrates a way of thinking. Every time you write a business plan, by the way, it's out of date as soon as you've written it. But that's not the point. The point is to actually think, as you're going on a roller coaster journey, what's out there that I can hopefully anticipate and do something to prevent. So the final outcome is a business plan. Now, I have to say, one thing that really pleased me with this year's cohort, same as the first year cohort, they actually embraced the finance very actively there as well. Now, I've obviously worked with creators for quite a long period of time, and I think if you can manage to translate it in a format here, they can actually recognise the importance of it, and I have to say they are quite sponges for knowledge there itself. Now, where are we now in terms of the final run-through? The outcomes are that all the YEA understand fully what it takes to run a business. It'll be quite useful for non-artists to also understand that as well. It'll be quite helpful. And we've seen some good demonstrations of sustainable art form that's backed up with that. Be aware of the risks out there. You can't avoid them, you can't eliminate them, but at least you might be able to do something to mitigate any pain that might come forward. They can develop their ideas, and we've heard from Thomas, other people in the audience as well. The ideas they're coming up with now, I guarantee will be different this time next year. But they'll have learned from that process there itself. Things like red tape. Now, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, there are regulations out there. We need to make sure we can navigate and be aware. And what they've all done very successfully is they know who to speak to if they don't know the answer to a question. And one thing you have to do as a business person is know where those contact agencies and contact points are. And in all the projects I've been involved before, I have to say, not because Tim's to my left-hand side, the Curve has produced an excellent project here with good, well-rounded support, and I think year 3 is going to be even better than year 2 itself. Where do we conclude? Now, as a result, because of what's happening, we're submitting the final pieces of work for the YEA cohorts this year, so they're going to probably don their sort of graduation caps, and hopefully they'll be getting their awards sometime in the next month or 2. And I have to say, I'll take the praise obviously for some of it, but due credit has got to go to the YEA group, particularly Tim, Nathan and all the other mentors who've helped in the programme. And you'll be pleased to know the last particular slide is just the de rigueur thing, the good old fancy website. If any of you are interested, I think there's some information in Tim's pack. If you're a budding entrepreneur, we've got buckets of resources here, no charge, no sign up to the website, help yourself. And if you're interested in extending the conversation, obviously I've left my contact email at the end. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mahmood. Thank you.